LD 1487, and I just want to take a few moments to sort of lay out some of the components of the bill, if I may. I believe that this is a bipartisan approach to better managing care and achieving savings in MaineCare while improving access to health care for nearly 70,000 Maine people with low income, the majority of whom work. This bill, in my opinion, will save lives, create jobs, and help our economy. It will infuse millions of dollars into Maine's economy, which increases badly needed revenues for our health care providers, including our doctors, hospitals, and federally qualified health centers. It will create an estimated 3,100 to 3,400 jobs and will preserve about 900 to 1,000 more. Maine will receive $360 million in new federal health care dollars each year, about $1 million a day, more than $1 million a day. It has a $500 million annual economic impact into Maine's economy. So I want to talk about the compromise that exists in the bill, if I may. Part A, it implements a full risk capitated managed care in Maine's MaineCare program. It will help us provide predictability for expenditures, which we know has plagued the Department of Health and Human Services and has led to multiple supplementals and the last years as far back as I can remember. It will also build upon the work that the state is already engaged in to help to continue to reduce the costs and to, more importantly, improve the quality of care provided under MaineCare. Part B, it accepts the federal funds to increase access to health care for 70,000 people and repeals that coverage on December 31st, 2016. The important component there is it allows us to take advantage of the 100% reimbursement rates and allows a future legislature to determine if we are still able to afford the program at that time, and any changes to the program will be considered at that time based on what the federal government decides to do. Provides for 2 studies in Part C, the savings to the general fund from Medicaid expansion, we're trying to determine that, and also the financial feasibility of covering MaineCare members through the private marketplace, which is similar to Iowa and Arkansas. Requires that the savings from MaineCare expansion above and beyond those identified in the fiscal note be reported to the committees of jurisdiction, Health and Human Services and Public Safety, and that these additional savings be deposited into the MaineCare Stabilization Fund. Part E, it requires a letter to be sent out to the enrollees to inform them that the coverage will be ending, so that way it will not be a surprise to any of them that it may be ending should a future legislature decide not to continue with the Medicaid expansion. It informs them that they have to sign up with a primary care provider, which most of us in this building are fully aware is important, an important aspect to controlling costs and to improving the quality of care for everybody. Part F, it sets up a task force to identify and change policies in MaineCare that penalize or create disincentives for members to increase earnings and hours of employment. In Part G, it reforms and reduces the waiting lists for programs for adults with intellectual disabilities, reforms programs for adults with the intellectual disabilities, and uses the savings to reduce the waiting lists. The waiting list that we've all sat in here and talked about for the last 2 years that I've been here, we finally have a chance through these achieved savings to maybe be able to reduce the waiting list. So that way I don't have to get a letter, again, like I got the other day, that showed, in my opinion, something that should never happen. So that way we can afford to cover those people that need it the most. Part H, it hires 2 new fraud investigators. It directs the Attorney General to strengthen its healthcare crimes unit to investigate fraud in the MaineCare program and prosecute crimes related to the misuse of all public funds. The most important thing for, I think, everybody to know is this bill, in my opinion, really truly represents an incredible amount of compromise and a lot of work by a lot of people. I know that people in this room are principally objected to this piece of legislation, and I can respect somebody that takes a principled stance. What I'm hoping, though, is that people will be able to look through get beyond the partisan lens that we seem to always have in this building, and really be able to truly come together to do something that's not just right for Maine's economy, but what's most important, it's right for thousands of people who, in my opinion, their lives depend on it. So I encourage anybody that may be sitting in this chamber today and unsure to consider following me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.